This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
You can't bribe them. You got to beat them. We'll see how it turns out.
We will never allow the United States to determine when there is war or peace.
Everybody's screaming chaos after that.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Talking again. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. President Trump, speaking before auto workers in Michigan this afternoon, says he expects the same success dealing with Iran as he had with Venezuela.
The same thing's happening in Iran. People just don't see it. And right now they're talking to us about making a deal. But if we didn't do it tough, there would be no talk. You can't bribe them. You got to beat them. We'll see how it turns out.
Fox's Trey Yingst on the pause in U.S. attacks.
For the past 3 nights, the United States has halted strikes against Iran. But the White House is very clear. The military option remains on the table as officials give both diplomacy and economic pressure time to work.
Despite apparent new U.S.-Iranian dialogue, this Iranian foreign ministry spokesman remains defiant.
We have never allowed, and we will never allow, the United States to determine when there is war or peace. We will defend ourselves whenever our interests require it.
When will the conflict end? Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells Fox.
When this regime is either toppled or it's sufficiently weakened that it knows it has to end its nuclear program and has to change its course.
Netanyahu has a White House meeting with President Trump tomorrow. Police are searching for a second suspect after a fatal shooting in Seattle last night. Taylor Winkle is with KCPQ-TV in Seattle.
Everybody's just running. Everybody's screaming chaos after that.
Stampedes of people rushed from the danger. Police think 2 people were shooting at each other.
3 were killed, 4 injured when shots rang out during the Bite of Seattle festival. The youngest of those victims just 2 years old. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson says everyone deserves to feel safe in the big city.
What happened here today at the Seattle Center was an unbelievable tragedy, a horrific act of violence.
However, Seattle police say cameras didn't capture the mass shooting just weeks after Mayor Wilson said she was turning cameras off to thwart ICE. Police in Germany say the suspect in this weekend's deadly attack on Berlin's Pride Festival is dead. NBC's Valerie Castro.
Police say they found Abdul Balut in a garden. He rushed towards officers with a stabbing weapon before they say he was stopped by our special operations unit using a firearm and subsequently died. The manhunt lasted nearly 24 hours before coming to a dramatic end in the suburbs of Berlin.
Authorities say 1 woman was killed, at least 29 injured Saturday night when the man drove a truck into a crowd and began attacking people with a machete near the Brandenburg Gate. Germany's interior minister says all evidence points to an Islamic terrorist attack. Nearly 300,000 people evacuated from regions of France and Spain ahead of approaching wildfires.
In France, authorities going door to door in the Gironde region urging residents to evacuate, pleading with vacationers to keep their distance. Firefighters supported by farmers. Huge flames as the wildfires in the region burn more than 100,000 acres, an area 4 times the size of Paris.
ABC's Marcus Moore. Back in the U.S. now, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell says he's working hard to get back to his full schedule of work in the Senate and his home state. In a news release this morning, McConnell said he's also keeping up with intense physical therapy per doctor's orders. His presence and vote have been conspicuously absent on the Senate floor. New York Senator Chuck Schumer is vowing to stop any attempt by the Trump administration to rename Penn Station in New York City after the president.
Democrats are fighting to renew robust infrastructure investments. Republicans are threatening those investments by turning the transportation surface bill into a vehicle for Trump's vanity project.
The Democrat referring to a recent letter by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who called for a name change to Penn, which will undergo a multi-billion-dollar renovation to expand capacity. That directive doesn't specifically say what the DOT should rename it as, but it comes after Duffy had floated the idea of the name Trump Station last year. Music icon Carly Simon opening up about her private health care battle. The 83-year-old singer-songwriter has revealed to People that she's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Simon released a statement explaining she purposely stepped away from the public eye to learn how to live with the progressive neurological condition. Well, back to school shopping will be kicking into high gear here soon. What can you expect out there?
According to the National Retail Federation, families will spend upwards of $863 per household this year. And in sum total, we could spend as much as $43.3 billion on our back to school supplies. That would be a record. It's not just notebooks and pencils. It's also electronics and clothing and shoes.
Oh my, Lydia Hu with Fox Business. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories. Highlights from today's Noon Report feature on summer travel tips, plus Spider-Man Unmasked. All coming up after Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. An unusual weather pattern for this time of year will bring us some autumn-like weather conditions as deep low pressure aloft spawns a storm on the coast, becoming almost a nor'easter. The result? Rain, lots of it over the next couple days and nights, and a cooling trend as well. For tonight, mostly cloudy, humid, showers becoming more numerous. A thunderstorm or two will roam the area, low temperatures in the 60s. Tomorrow into Wednesday, cloudy and damp with periods of rain. Some of that rain will be heavy and accompanied by thunder and lightning. High temperatures tomorrow, 70s to near 80. High temperatures Wednesday only in the upper 60s to the middle 70s. A couple leftover showers Thursday, then brighter skies by about Friday or so.
Thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. New York lawmakers recently passed a first-in-the-nation data center moratorium, pausing for 1 year construction of any massive such facilities. Justin Wilcox with Upstate United says a year, though, is too long and could shut out data centers from investing in New York's utility infrastructure.
Other states, even though they are generating plenty of electricity and they're continuing to add, they can't keep up with the amount of demand. So, what you see in those states happening is the hyperscalers are stepping in and saying, look, out of necessity, we're going to bring our own power.
A new poll by the Empire Center shows 43% of New Yorkers want data centers to provide their own power. 1/3 say they don't want data centers at all in New York. Those facilities, though, are critical to powering the growing field of artificial intelligence. Speaking of AI, plans are on hold to use an AI-powered humanoid robot in the Salamanca, New York School District. More on that from Family Life's Bob Price.
Yeah, Mark, Salamanca was set to be the first in the country to use an AI-powered robot in the classroom. School leaders say the district first needs to make sure student privacy is protected. Back in June, Toronto-based Realbotics announced it had partnered with the Salamanca School District to introduce that robot named Sally in the classroom this fall. Bob Price, Family Life News.
Thank you, Bob. Measles cases continue to pop up in Pennsylvania amid a national outbreak not seen in decades. 29 new cases reported in the Commonwealth over the past week. The majority are in Lancaster County, where a large percentage of the population is unvaccinated. This is the worst year for measles in the U.S. since 1991. For just the second time in the 145-year history of the American Red Cross, blood supplies have hit a crisis level. That means there's just a 2-day supply left. Western New York Red Cross spokeswoman Meg Rossman says every 2 seconds somebody in the U.S. needs blood.
We're seeing a very steady and increased demand from hospitals because this is also trauma season. So what we're seeing is that the hospital demand is outpacing the number of folks coming through the door.
The Red Cross says just 1 unit of blood can help save up to 3 lives. Well, summertime is the most dangerous time of the year, including for pedestrians. Experts blame smartphones for car-person collisions and warn walkers and drivers alike they need to pay closer attention to their surroundings.
When you have a cell phone, put it in your pocket, put it away. Do not use it when you're behind the wheel driving. Don't keep scrolling through social media while you're out taking a walk. Enjoy your surroundings. Focus on the road.
Solid advice from Adam Snyder with the Governor's Highway Traffic Association. He says 300 pedestrians across New York die every year in vehicle crashes. New York and Pennsylvania are among more than 24 states suing the Trump administration over new conditions tied to federal disaster and counterterrorism funding. The lawsuit challenges new funding requirements from FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. Changes that would force states to help enforce federal immigration law and change election procedures to get federal funding. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro calls the new conditions, quoting here, reckless and unconstitutional. Up next, highlights from today's Noon Report feature. July is the most popular month for family vacations, and our Bob Price got some tried and true summer travel tips from Focus on the Family's parenting expert, Dr. Dina Thayer.
Vacation can be anything but fun and relaxing when you have little ones in tow. What are some tried and true tricks for traveling with kids we should be thinking about as we get ready for that summer vacation?
Yes, there are some things to think about. And I've recently learned July is actually the top month for travel. So this is super applicable. So you've also got August stretching out before you, and it's good to think about these things. One of the things I think is tried and true is first thinking about the way you're getting somewhere, and are you planned for that? So, for example, if you've got a long car ride or maybe a flight, making sure those kiddos are fed and entertained. And the other thing with the entertainment is I suggest bringing something new, maybe that they haven't seen before. You can even go to a dollar store, a Five Below, something like that. Get some fun little things for them to do during that long car ride or flight.
What are some of the primary mistakes that parents make when preparing to travel with children?
There's a couple. I think first it is a little bit of those rose-colored glasses. Oh, we're going to have this great family bonding time in the car, and it's going to be wonderful, and they're not going to get bored because they're going to love the license plate game for 7 hours. Some of it is just these unrealistic expectations. So that's a mistake. I would say prepare to hear I'm bored or are we there yet within maybe the first hour. And that's why that planning ahead with things to do is so important. The second mistake that parents make is not always thinking about once you're there as well. Maybe the drive goes great, but have you also thought about once you're there? Have you planned your days well in between all the things on your itinerary? Because the other thing I think that parents stumble on is they plan the type of trip that is so go, 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 and especially with littles, then they just crash, and you end up coming home and feeling like you need a vacation from your vacation.
Wow, that's so true. You know, it's okay to be bored once in a while.
Yes.
In fact, I kind of like that vacation where give me a book and give me a beach, and I'm all set. You know, I don't need anything else. But you're right. We think we had to be on the go all the time. But what can parents do, Dina, leading up to that trip to try to increase the chances as best as they can for a smooth experience for everyone?
Yes. Okay. Let me just mention 3 things real quickly. One is pay attention to your time zones. If you know you're going somewhere that's in a different time zone, see if you can start scooting those bedtimes a little bit in advance so it's less of a shock to the system and you don't have super groggy kids who are now not enjoying the museum or the amusement park or whatever you had planned. Number 2, I would say please be aware of the age and developmental frame of your children. So a 4-year-old is not going to engage with Museum of the Bible the same way that your teen will. And a teen might think the Science Center is a drag. And third, and this is adjacent to this, get some input. If your kids are old enough, let them have a say. Maybe if you've got kids of varying ages, maybe each one gets to pick one thing you do in the location you've chosen to go on vacation. So you know at least everyone has one activity they're super pumped about, and that will help them be gracious while they're maybe doing something for their sibling that isn't their favorite.
Thank you, Bob. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
The birds and the lilies have something to teach us about trust. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. In Matthew 6, Jesus says, "Do not be anxious about your life." Then he invites us to look at the birds and consider the lilies. The birds don't gather into barns, yet our Heavenly Father feeds them. The lilies don't spin their own clothing, yet God clothes them with beauty. Jesus isn't saying planning is wrong. He's reminding us that we're not in control. Financial anxiety often grows when we believe everything depends on us, our income, our planning, our savings, our ability to predict tomorrow. But Jesus says your Heavenly Father knows. So plan wisely, save diligently, work faithfully, but entrust tomorrow to the God who already holds it. Connect with a certified Kingdom advisor who's been trained to deliver financial advice that aligns with your Christian values by visiting our website, faithfi.com.
Thank you, sir. Finally at 5. Spider-Man unmasked?
Spider-Man does whatever.
The video's been seen by millions. In this case, Spider-Man Unmasked is Christopher Hellenthal, who had just gotten off of his shift at a Jonesboro, Arkansas trampoline park where he'd spent the day dressed as Spider-Man. Still in costume when he stopped at a red light at a large, busy intersection when a police traffic camera caught the scene. An elderly man in a wheelchair struggling to cross the street. Spidey picks up the story from there, telling WREG.
I clocked out of work and I was just going to drive around Jonesboro. I've done it before. I've just never went viral. I just so happened to be right there at the stoplight whenever that man was having trouble getting across. I was like, all right, I'm in this Spider-Man suit. Let's do this. So I just got out and sped him along real fast. Everyone was really nice. There was no honking or nothing like that. Just got in my vehicle and I drove off.
All in a day's work for this everyday superhero until his mom woke him up later and said, hey, you're on Facebook. Hellenthal says he just hopes his proverbial 15 minutes of fame leads to more good deeds, whether or not the good deed doer happens to be in a superhero costume at the time. And that's the world we live in for Monday, July 27th, 2026. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.